Can you travel Fiji on a budget? That is the challenge that we set ourselves for the week that we've spent here. And we said right from the very start, we were going to track every single cent.
So we're going to share all of those travel costs and we're going to break them down into 7 different categories. So just to catch you up, if you're new around here, we have just spent the most interesting and epic week in Fiji attempting to travel on a budget.
But today we're going to explain how it went and if it's possible, and if there is a balance between going kind of budget or affordable luxury without needing to step up to that sort of dinner hour price point.
Starting with the most expensive thing, accommodation.
If you didn't watch, we probably should explain the two styles of how we traveled, right?
Yeah, so we started off like super budget and we stayed at a place that you can kind of backpack at, and they've got hostels starting at $40 a night with shared bathrooms, of course. But yeah, we had no idea that you could do that.
No, what we've kind of figured out through this trip is that you can actually backpack Fiji. We were just thinking like budget.
Yeah,
so we did that. We didn't stay in the super budget. So in our prices, we went one step up into the private room with a unique kind of outdoor bathroom, but still you get all of the same vibes and the coolness of being somewhere beachfront.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And then we kind of we were curious, is there a secondary option before you jump up to full-scale 5-star resort?
Yeah, and we found it. We're in we call it affordable luxury at a resort, and we've got a deal that was sort of kind of all-inclusive, right?
Yeah.
We got breakfast, lunch, and dinner included.
Which offsets a lot of costs.
Yeah.
So we booked that through Luxury Escapes, and we're not affiliated with anything. We spent all of our own money to do this, to come and investigate. And like when we check out, we're going to have tiny amounts of money to spend on basically a couple of Coke Zeros and a few beers. We'll do a bit more of a comparison at the end about how those two accommodations worked out, but essentially, yes, you totally can do it.
Next up, activities and tours. We did 3 different tours, and because we stayed somewhere cheap, we got the advantage of being able to get a little bit of a discount. And obviously, like when you're staying at a cheaper place, the activities and tours that they run have to kind of be in line with the people that are staying there.
Very good point. Yeah, so just as a comparison, how many hours was it? 5 to 6 hour boat tour that we did to Yanuva, is that how they pronounce it? Yanuva Island. We paid 150 Fijian when we stayed at our first accommodation beach house. This place is offering the exact same tour for $250. This is where you start splitting hairs though, because our boat was so-so and we got saturated on the way home. These boats are potentially nicer. So you're potentially upgrading in terms of quality as well, but the goal was, can you do it on a budget? And we definitely found that. And then we also found 2 other tours, right? Yeah,
so the second tour that we did was a coffee tour, and we kind of were trying to find something that was a little bit budget still. We spent how much on that?
That's 100 Fijian.
100 Fijian, but you got 3 coffees included in the tour. The tour itself was amazing, and learning about it was insane. It's wild coffee. We won't go into it now, but
I'm like espresso is obsessed at the minute. So for me, I could have done a whole vlog on that alone.
And we were buzzing by the end of it. But as if that wasn't enough, we also got to take home 2 200-gram packs of coffee beans as well. So you get a lot of value back in terms of that tour as well. And it was so fun.
It was. The third tour we booked, we tried to do through our resort here, and that was supposed to be a village tour. And they basically just outright, we showed up on the morning and they were like, oh, no, we're not doing it today. Okay, island time. All right, we'll figure something else out. So we didn't want to leave without not doing a third tour. And so we ended up booking one of the top 3 highest rating tours that we could find in all of Fiji. Over 1,000 ratings, all 5-star average.
Yeah.
And that was Eco Tracks. And that was unfortunately expensive, but we got in last minute, luckily. So that was 200 and, I think it was, I'll put it on the screen here. I think it was 229 Fijian. And that was a very cool day as well. But obviously at that lifted our pricing for this a lot. You could lower that significantly if you just stayed in a resort.
Definitely.
It didn't go anywhere.
But we wouldn't recommend that. When you are ready to go away on your next adventures, what we do recommend is that you pick up Nomad Insurance with Safety Wing, who we've partnered with on this video and is the travel medical insurance we've been talking about for over 5 years now.
Big news too, they've recently updated their claims process so you can file a claim in only 5 minutes with fewer documents and get your money back in 7 to 10 business days. We've always loved the transparency on their site, it's always been appreciated, and now that it's even faster and easier to make a claim, it's a winner.
They've got so many incredible features we've talked about over the years, but the flexibility is a big selling point for us.
Kids under 10 are free with an adult policy. You can buy coverage while you're already traveling. It's a pay-as-you-go subscription that you can cancel at any time, and it's actually affordable, with coverage for just a few dollars a day.
We've shared a link in the video description and pinned as the top comment for you to check out. Next up is petrol and transportation.
And this is where, if you've watched the vlogs, you'll know we made the decision, well, in order to find budget accommodation, you really have to get away from Nandi, which is where the main airport is.
Yeah.
Sick, look at that taxi. Dude, that's awesome.
So then you either have to get a longer transfer or you're more isolated. So we opted to get a car in order to have the freedom to drive around. So that's where the majority of those costs come from.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Having a car?
Yeah.
I think it was like, there's barely any other tourists driving cars, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's not a common thing to do here, but I think I would have gone crazy if we didn't have a car.
Yes.
I loved having the freedom and being able to find those like cheap eats or going and finding coffee. I would think like if you're just in the resort, some people love that and that's cool. But for me personally, and I think Dane as well, like we just like being able to go and explore.
Freedom. And you
Freedom.
saw so much interesting stuff by driving around and stopping at local supermarkets and buying beers and seeing kids playing in the rain. And I feel like we saw more of Fiji because we rented a car. But if you went ultimate budget and you picked up one of those packages, you could get 5, 7, 8 nights accommodation, just pay for a transfer one way, and then on the return home, and sure, you're gonna have to drive 2.5 or 3 hours on that transfer, but someone else is driving, and
Yeah, you don't
you're
have
just
to
looking
worry
out the
about
window.
anything.
So you could strip that back by probably $550. Like I'm sure it probably only $100 or so either way, something like that.
Because you
right?
could also catch the bus as well.
True. That, if you're going full backpacker mode, then
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go, because there was a bus station outside Beach House where we stayed. So you could have had
Yeah.
$40 accommodation, have caught the bus, be chilling out on the beach with breakfast included, and get cheap tours with a bunch of other like it was cool.
It was cool.
That's cool to do it that way.
Food, which is not much because obviously we are staying somewhere that has breakfast, lunch, and dinner all included. And because we have the car, we could, when we didn't want to eat here or when we were at Beach House, we could drive to places and find cheap eats.
Yeah, although our first cheap eats was a really bad recommendation. We ended up with a pie, which was so weird.
I think we were there at like an odd time of the day, so
think
there was
so.
like not much going on.
Our second
But it was
recommendation was Crab Shack, and that is our favorite meal that we've had in Fiji. And again, without the car, we would have never got there.
Fish
right?
tacos, man, so good.
The fish tacos are incredible, and the pricing comes down a lot as well.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, we spent a little bit because dinners and lunches obviously weren't included at the first accommodation.
Yeah.
But the food, again, was way cheaper there. We were only
Yeah.
spending 18 to 25, 30 tops Fijian for...
Decent sized burgers and chips and stuff.
Yeah, and everywhere else, including where we're staying now, is more expensive because you're in a resort. So, yeah, I think having the freedom helped. But then also, if you bought a package and you just stayed in your resort, you could just eat every single meal here
Yeah.
and not spend a cent on any additional food. So your budget is literally the package you buy up front.
Yeah.
Alcohol, we spent 91 New Zealand dollars.
That's not very much at all.
Nah, we didn't go full holiday cocktail mode, did we?
No, I mean, to put it in perspective, the cocktails at the resort,
$28.
$28 outside of happy hour. So that's a decent cost.
Yeah.
But when you go to a local supermarket, they are like, beers are like $3.50 or something like that. So
And then beers here at $8 on happy hour.
Yeah. So again, it just comes back to having that freedom, right? And being able
How
to
much?
kind of like go out and explore and buy our own beersies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we just walked up the road though and went and stocked up at a local shop, and they were $4 or $4, I
Yeah,
think.
just slightly more
Yeah.
expensive than the
So we just
supermarket.
walked them in with a backpack and chucked them in our mini fridge back here. And then also when we went to Crab Shack, those beers were only $5. So
Yeah.
again, without the car, you wouldn't have been able to get better food, and you wouldn't have been able to get better prices on things like alcohol,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're kind of isolated. So there's this real trade-off, and I'm like such an over-analyzer when it comes to this stuff. I could split hairs and sit here and chat with you for an hour about the pros, the cons,
Yeah.
the ifs, the that's, the other side, and on the flip side kind of stuff, but you're probably not interested in all of that, Deeds. That would have been more had we had access to better coffee.
Look, the coffee here, apart from on the coffee tour, is
and at Beach House at the...
I was getting there.
Sorry.
Like in the hotels, for example, buffet breakfast, the coffee, filtered coffee is not out to our taste, but we were able to find some good places for coffee. The Tipsy Italian really surprised us, and also the best coffee we had was at the Project Collective.
Yeah,
I think there's actually 2 of those on this island.
That's good to know.
But there's one right outside Beach House, and so
I watched her, like sat at the high bar to see
how it was made.
what was her process, and it was legit. She clearly had training, and the taste was really good. The only other costs that are in there is basically Stacey drinking Coke Zeros
and Fiji water.
Oh yeah, true that. This one's for you.
Snacks. We spent $14, and to be fair, that was like 2 bags of chips.
Yeah,
something like that.
I don't know why I really pulled this out, but I think I was trying to show that snacks are actually quite expensive.
But we also did bring a box of protein bars.
That's a very good point, and I haven't really considered this, but that goes in hand with the budget situation.
Yeah, because we were like, maybe we don't want to be spending lots of money on snacks, and we didn't.
Yeah, or eating burgers for every single meal.
Yeah. The imported chippies are really expensive here.
Yeah.
So if you're like us and you like to do the happy hour with beersy and some chippies out on the balcony or out on the beach, you got to save up.
Yeah. What was I just thinking? On the first video, we went to a supermarket, so we shared some costs in that one. And then, what else was I thinking?
About snacks.
Scone forever. But anyway, what did they get to in terms of our total cost? So 7 nights accommodation.
7 days of a car.
3 activities, a reasonable amount of kind of like food and beer outside of our packages. We spent a total of 3,282 New Zealand dollars.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It was a really fun week. There were some it would have been a lot easier to just say yes to everything and spend the money. And we probably tend to do that more in other destinations when we're trying to create interesting and fun content for you guys. But this was somewhat of a challenge, eh?
A little bit, yeah. But I feel like we got a good range of things. Like we saw a lot of stuff. 1, because we had the car. Sorry, we keep talking about that. 2, because we did really like diverse tours.
Yes.
We got to go to islands, we got to go snorkeling, we got to meet locals, we got to do like outdoorsy stuff, drink wild coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I suppose we were going to come back to a couple of questions. So is it possible to travel on a budget? And I think the answer is yes. But the most fascinating thing that I think we've learned is we'd kind of said in our head there's sort of a quite budget, a mid-tier resort, which is where we are now, and then there's sort of the upper market Dinnerau,
like
5-star, right? But I think what we figured out is there's a 4th category, and that's what shocked me. Backpacking would be so fun here.
Yeah,
I think it would be really, really cool.
And there were lots of people there. You can, if you're, say, for example, solo traveling, which there were heaps of people there. It's cool to have like a little bit of a community. Like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere out on the Coral Coast, and then to have all your friends and buddies that people were kind of making friends and stuff. It was cool. I don't know, like when I think of Fiji, or when I thought of Fiji before I'd been here, I instantly thought of Dinnerau, and I thought of Intercontinental.
Like you need 10 grand kind of thing.
Yeah, like there's no other option. Like that's just what you have to do. But that is so not true.
But we kind of said if you're a traveller, yes. If you're a vacationer, it's kind of different. But we've kind of tackled that, eh?
Yeah. I mean,
depends what you're into.
Exactly, that's the thing. Like, if you don't really care about where you sleep, it's just a place to lay your head at night, and you just want to go out and do things, or lay by the pool and like be outside, then you definitely can. But if you like the finer things in life, and you're going to spend a bit of time in your room, then obviously you want to step up a little bit. Well,
that's where we had one last question: was what would you gain from going another budget tier up? And we don't have that answer because
if we went higher than mid-range.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
Yeah. And that would be, I mean, we'd love to come back and figure that out. What does that step up in terms of luxury, in terms of room qualities, in terms of service levels, in terms of food, in terms of price, pools.
It'd be interesting.
Access to more restaurants in a resort is a big thing. We were quite limited here.
Yeah.
That'd be really, really interesting to know what that quality step up difference is. But maybe that's for the next trip. The last thing we were going to do, because we had a few messages about this, was a very quick, if we can, quickly, was an accommodation comparison between we're not talking about the hostel beds, but the private room versus booking a package resort like this. Maybe go general thoughts. What's your initial thoughts on the 2 styles and cost?
As in, like, what I liked better?
Yeah, just whatever comes to mind.
I surprised myself here. I personally liked the vibes of the budget backpacker place way more than here. And maybe that comes down to like, if you want to just quickly go to the beach or go to the pool, you legit have to pack a bag here and like make a trek. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds dumb, but like just being able to open your door and be on the beach and be surrounded by music and people and like.
But if we'd spent more here, we probably would have got that anyway.
Nah, the vibes are different.
The vibes are different.
The vibes. It's the vibes.
Vibes was one of the things which I thought would sound really stupid, but I
don't know how else to explain it.
I totally agree. But the pool was not as good. The beach
in the cheap place.
Yeah, the beach was probably not as good. Maybe a little bit more isolated.
Yeah.
So obviously there's trade-offs in terms of value. I think this place is insane value if you're getting a package deal and your food is offset. That is huge.
Food is very expensive here in general.
Yeah.
So to be able to include every single meal was pretty crazy.
Room quality is just worlds apart. We didn't really want to spend much time in our room at Beach House, whereas here at the Pearl Resort, as you can see, if you've watched other video, you know as well, this is much nicer. This is not a suite really, but it's apartment. It's apartment-ish,
and we have a balcony and
just more space. There's more space to explore and more zones that you can hang out in where you're kind of restricted on the small spot.
The other place was so dark.
Yeah, and also we had no hot water. I don't know if that was just an error in our room. I'm pretty sure it said in our listing we were supposed to have hot water.
In the dorm showers either.
No. Yeah. So massive upgrade here. I want to take the shower home. It's a nice shower. So good, and it's a double head guy. We said pool, we said vibes. Wi-Fi was almost unusable at Beach House for the backpackers, and here it's not fast. It's only between 2 and 4 meg down.
And it drops off.
Questionable at times, but we were able to watch, YouTube and whatever else.
So better here.
And streaming was good. Food, well, that one's debatable, which is better.
I know.
What's that?
I like the food at Beach House better.
But I think you should explain what it was about it. Why it was a winner.
Why it was better there?
Yeah.
Well, I think because they're catering on a smaller scale there, that the quality was great. I mean, to be fair, burgers are good everywhere. So I'm talking about burgers. Burgers were good here and there. But they did local food really well there.
They did.
So fish curries and things like that were delicious and well priced.
Yeah,
Whereas here I feel like it's on a bigger scale.
Was really good. And if you don't know, there's a big Indian kind of culture scene influence in Fiji. So when we're saying the local food, we're mostly talking about curries and
dal.
Yeah. Happy hour comparison. I mean, pricing was the same for beers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Pricing was the same, but the other place again, vibe check, was that there was always music playing, and because it's smaller, everybody is generally in around a smaller area, whereas here people were much more spread out, and they didn't tend to have music on, and sometimes they played the same song twice.
Yeah,
and weird. I feel like and then stop.
Sunsets over, like, just down a bit.
Just because it's a bit further up
Maybe
the coast.
A bit, I don't know.
That's a weird comparison though. Honestly, it's beer, it's good.
We're happy during any happy hour.
Yeah. And that's kind of the comparison that we had. Was that helpful? Was that interesting? Were you surprised? Are you surprised?
I'm surprised by the backpacker thing.
Yeah.
And that you, like, if you came to this video to be like, can you travel Fiji on a budget? The answer is yes, you can. And we might have flip-flopped around that, but that is the answer. That is our answer. Final answer, yes.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Bing, bing, bing. Diddly diddly doo.